You ever notice how life comes with all these hidden fees nobody told you about? Like you pop out into the world all cute and screaming, and right away, bam, you're already in debt. You're crying not because you're hungry, but because you just realized you didn't read the fine print. Nobody does. Nobody even knew there was a fine print. You think life's going to be a nice little subscription to happiness, maybe some love, a job, a little ice cream now and then you find out there's interest, penalties, and emotional service charges. You grow up thinking, okay, I'll go to school, learn stuff, make friends. Then school says, oh, you want knowledge. That'll cost ya time, energy, and possibly your will to live. And when you finally graduate, the world hands you a diploma and a bill. Congratulations! You now owe the universe for existing. Pay up in stress, disappointment, and taxes. And it's not even the big bills that get you. It's the little ones. The daily emotional invoices. You wake up. Fee for getting out of bed. Traffic. That's a toll. Someone says, we need to talk. That's a balloon payment on your sanity. You think you're saving up for joy, but joy's got inflation too. You can't even afford a good laugh, sometimes without worrying what it'll cost you later. You ever try to call customer service for life? You know, just to see if you can dispute a charge. Hi, yes. I think there's been a mistake. I didn't sign up for heartbreak this quarter. And life says, oh no, sir. That's in your basic plan. Comes bundled with hope and hormones. You can upgrade to enlightened acceptance. But that's non-refundable. Nobody reads the terms and conditions of existence. They're too long. They sound like, by continuing to breathe, you agree to endure loss, confusion, and at least 3 bad haircuts. You scroll to the bottom and hit accept. Because what else are you going to do? Not exist? That's not an option. They already processed your first payment. And the older you get, the more you realize there's an auto renewal on suffering. Every year, right when you think you've got the hang of it, life emails you. Your trial happiness period has expired. Would you like to continue? Please provide updated optimism details. And of course, you pay again, because what's the alternative? You look around and everyone's pretending they can afford it. People walking around smiling like they're not 3 missed payments away from a breakdown. You ever see those people? The ones who say, I'm fine, I'm great. That's emotional layaway. They're making minimum payments on their sanity. And it's okay. We all are. The trick is realizing you can't pay this bill off. You'll never settle your balance with life. The system's rigged. You can hustle, save, meditate, do yoga, eat kale, drink water from glaciers, and still you'll get charged. Maybe less for cholesterol, more for existential dread. The menu changes, but the check always comes. You think love's going to give you a discount. Oh no. Love's a premium service with hidden fees. First, you pay in attention, then in vulnerability, and if it goes wrong, you pay again in therapy and sad songs. You sit there thinking, why didn't anyone warn me? They did, but you were too busy signing up for the free trial of passion. Jobs. Another scam. You spend your hours, literal pieces of your life, trading them for numbers on a screen so you can afford food to keep you alive long enough to go back to work. That's not earning money, that's leasing survival. And they tell you, work hard, save up, retire. Retire from what? The treadmill. You don't get to retire from gravity or time. The rent on existence is due every second. And don't get me started on dreams. Oh, that's the luxury item on life's catalog. Follow your dreams, they say. Sure, if you can afford the down payment. Most people are out here trying to pay off, barely functional, before they can even think about self-actualized. Dreams are on back order until further notice. But you know what? It's kind of funny once you stop fighting it. You realize the joke's not cruel. It's cosmic. Life isn't trying to rip you off. It just runs on a weird economy. You pay in laughter and tears, and somehow that's the only real currency that matters. The more you spend, the richer you get. If you spend it right, we take it all so seriously. Like if we just budgeted better, or worked harder, or followed the right guru, maybe we could pay life off early and live debt-free. Nah. Nobody gets out debt-free. You don't pay it off, you pay it forward. Every time you share a joke, help a stranger, or forgive someone who didn't even ask, you're putting something back into the system. You're offsetting the absurdity fee. So, when life hands you another unexpected bill, your car breaks down, your heart breaks down, or your plans get repossessed, just remember it's not punishment, it's policy. The fine print said so. You can't return existence, but you can laugh at the interest rate. And maybe that's the secret nobody told us. You can't cancel the subscription, but you can downgrade the seriousness. Treat it like one of those ridiculous monthly charges for something you forgot you signed up for. Every morning, the universe goes, your daily absurdity charge has been processed. And you just nod and say, yeah, figures. Because once you stop pretending you can pay it all back, you start enjoying what you do get. A warm sunrise, a decent cup of coffee, a dumb inside joke that makes you snort. Those are the cashback rewards of consciousness. They're small, but they're real, and they don't expire. So yeah, life's just a bill you can't pay. But if you laugh while you're broke, they can't repossess your joy. You ever notice how emotions are like money? Everybody's got some, but nobody knows how to manage it. We walk around like emotional millionaires one day and bankrupt philosophers the next. One moment you're feeling rich with joy, throwing compliments around like dollar bills, and the next you're curled up in bed, emotionally overdrawn, thinking, I should have saved some happiness for later. Life's a credit system for feelings, and guess what? None of us passed the background check. You start young, full of emotional credit, wide-eyed optimism, big dreams, believing people mean what they say. Then slowly, you start spending. First crush. That's your down payment on heartbreak. First job. That's your initial deposit into disappointment. First time you realize adults don't have it figured out either. That's when the whole economy collapses. Suddenly you're trying to live off the emotional equivalent of pocket change, wondering where it all went. And the funny part is, we keep trying to buy things that can't be bought. Happiness, validation, peace of mind. These aren't for sale, but we act like they are. We trade our sanity for approval, our time for affection, our self-worth for a little bit of attention. We'll bankrupt our souls to make someone else feel comfortable. It's like emotional Black Friday every day. Everybody's out here fighting for discounts on dignity. Then, when it all falls apart, we're shocked. Why am I so drained? Because you've been handing out free samples of your feelings like a department store. Every person who walked by got a taste, and now you're standing there with an empty tray and a fake smile. Thanks for stopping by. I'll be fine. Sure you will. Right after you declare emotional bankruptcy. It's wild how emotions bounce just like bad checks. You ever try to love someone when your self-esteem account's already empty? That payment's going to bounce so high, it hits the ceiling. You can't write a check for trust when your balance is insecurity. You can't invest in joy when you keep spending on worry. But we try anyway because we're sentimental gamblers. We think maybe this time the universe will waive the late fee. We've all been there, running around emotionally broke, but pretending to be fine. You're out with friends, smiling, laughing, buying drinks you can't afford emotionally, and deep down you know, this happiness is on credit. You'll pay for it later, maybe around 2 a.m., when the laughter fades and the "what am I doing with my life" statement arrives in your mental inbox. You ever meet those people who always seem emotionally rich? You know the type. Always calm, always zen, always sipping herbal tea and talking about boundaries. You think, how do they do it? Easy. They've got good accountants. They audit their feelings, balance their moods, and don't make impulsive emotional purchases. Meanwhile, the rest of us are out here like, I just spent my entire week's confidence on one awkward conversation. And don't even get me started on emotional debt collectors. They come in all forms: exes, family members, old mistakes, unpaid regrets. You think you've moved on, and suddenly one shows up at your door saying, remember that time in 1998? Yeah, we need to talk. You're just standing there, broke again, trying to explain, look, I don't have it right now. Can't we do a payment plan on closure? Life's funny like that. It doesn't care how much emotional credit you've got left. It just keeps sending bills. Grief, disappointment, loneliness, they all have their own collection agencies. But here's the catch. None of it's personal. The system's designed to make you overspend. You can't walk through life without paying in feelings. You try to stay detached, but then a song plays, or someone says something kind, and suddenly you're back in the red. The secret isn't avoiding the overdraft. It's learning to bounce back after it. Because everyone goes broke sometimes. Everyone hits that emotional zero, staring at the ceiling, thinking, how did I get here? And that's fine. You just got to rebuild. Refinance your faith. Invest in small joys. You don't need a fortune of happiness, just enough to keep the lights of your soul on. You ever notice how laughers like emotional cash flow? You can be dead broke in spirit, but if you manage one good laugh, suddenly you're solvent again. It's the great equalizer. That's why we love humor. It's the only currency that never devalues. Inflation doesn't touch it, and you can print it yourself anytime you want. You laugh at your pain, and suddenly you're not poor anymore. You're rich in irony. And maybe that's what emotional wealth really is. Not having no problems, but having enough perspective to joke about them. Because when you can laugh at your misery, you're no longer its prisoner. You've repossessed your power. You've turned suffering into stand-up, tragedy into entertainment, bills into punchlines. You can't pay the emotional debt, but you can write jokes on the envelopes. People always say, guard your heart. Yeah, good luck with that. It's like telling a bank not to open. Hearts aren't safes. They're vending machines. You put something in, sometimes you get something out, and sometimes it just eats your dollar. You shake it, kick it, swear you'll never use it again, and 5 minutes later, you're back trying for another snack. That's love. That's emotion. No refunds, no guarantees. But hey, that's the fun of it, right? If life were emotionally stable, it'd be boring. You'd never appreciate joy if you didn't know despair. You wouldn't value peace without a little chaos. The highs feel high because the lows exist. It's a weird economy, but it works. You can't eliminate emotional debt, but you can learn to balance your books better. So next time you're feeling overdrawn, don't panic. Don't call life's customer service. They'll just put you on hold. Instead, take a breath, laugh at the ridiculousness of it all. And remember, you're not bankrupt. You're just between emotional paydays. Because at the end of the day, the balance doesn't matter as much as the transaction. How you love, how you forgive, how you keep showing up even when your soul's card keeps getting declined. That's the real credit. Staying in the game with a smile when you've got nothing left in the emotional account, but a little courage and a sarcastic grin. You ever notice how everybody's trying to make life balance? Like it's some kind of spreadsheet you can fix if you just add the right formula. People say, you just have to find balance. Yeah, sure. Between what and what exactly? Between the chaos and the nonsense. Between your dreams and your bills. Between eating kale and wanting to die. The only thing that's balanced about life is how it manages to screw everybody equally. They say, find your purpose. As if purpose is some shiny coupon hiding under your couch cushions. You're supposed to wake up one day, stretch, and go, ah yes, my purpose. Right where I left it, next to my sanity. No, purpose isn't found. It's negotiated. You bargain for it like a used car. You start with, I want to change the world, and end up with, maybe I'll just keep a plant alive this year. But here's the joke. Purpose isn't some big grand thing. It's not a parade. It's not applause. It's not a legacy carved into a mountain. It's tiny. It's subtle. It's choosing to be kind when nobody's watching. It's laughing when things go wrong. It's showing up even when life keeps changing the schedule. You can't always pay every bill life hands you, but you can decide what you will invest in. You can't control the balance sheet, but you can choose which column you care about. See, we spend our lives worrying about what we owe. Owe people money, owe them time, owe them explanations. We're all terrified of being in debt to something. But here's the funny twist. You can't really owe the universe anything. It's not keeping track. You're not behind on your existence payments. You're not being evicted from meaning. You're fine. The whole thing's running on an ancient, messy barter system. You give a little love, you get a little laughter. Sometimes you get shortchanged. Sometimes you hit the jackpot. That's the economy of being alive. We get so obsessed with success that we forget to live. Success is just another item on life's fake invoice. Congratulations, you've made it. Made it where? Into a nicer cage with better lighting. You're still trapped under the same sky, pal. The trick isn't climbing higher. It's enjoying the view from wherever you are before the rent on the sunset goes up. You ever notice how the happiest people aren't the richest or the smartest? They're the ones who learned how to laugh at the absurdity. They've stopped pretending they can make sense of it. They've accepted the fact that life is just one long comedy of errors, starring you, co-starring bad timing, and directed by random chance. And once you see it like that, it gets easier. You stop chasing meaning and start making it. Like a bad cook with whatever ingredients are left in the fridge. You just throw it together and hope it's edible. People think meaning is this big shining truth waiting out there in the distance? No. Meaning's like pocket lint. You only notice it when you stop rushing around. It's in the small stuff. The way your friends laugh sounds like a broken trumpet. The smell of coffee that's just a little burnt. The way a cat ignores you like you're not even qualified to exist. That's meaning. It's the free samples the universe gives out when you're too tired to chase the main course. And yet we act like everything has to be significant. Every decision, every moment, every thought, it all has to mean something. Nah. Sometimes you just stub your toe because the universe was bored. Not everything's a lesson. Some things are just clumsy. Life's not a seminar. It's a circus. Stop taking notes and start enjoying the show. You know what's really funny? We keep trying to optimize happiness like it's a business strategy. You can't optimize happiness. You can't schedule joy. You can't say, all right, I'll be happy Thursday between 2 and 4, right after my existential dread meeting. Happiness isn't something you plan. It's something you notice. It sneaks in through the side door when you stop checking your emotional clock. And sometimes joy doesn't look like what you expected. Sometimes it's not a big laugh or a grand victory. Sometimes it's just sitting quietly, realizing you're still here, you're still trying, and somehow you're still capable of finding something funny about all this nonsense. That's joy on a budget. It's not glamorous, but it's real. You ever think about how we all take life so personally? Like every little setback is some cosmic insult. Why is this happening to me? Well, why not you? You're not that special. The universe isn't picking on you. It's just doing its thing. You just happen to stand in the splash zone. And that's okay. You learn to towel off and keep going. Because the alternative is standing around waiting for the universe to apologize. And it won't. It doesn't even have customer service. So maybe the point isn't paying life's bill in full. It's paying it with style. You can't settle the debt, but you can make your payments interesting. Laugh at your mistakes. Frame your regrets as stories. Treat your failures like souvenirs from a weird vacation. Because when it's all said and done, nobody's going to remember how balanced your life was. They'll remember how you handled the imbalance. And that's where purpose sneaks back in. Purpose isn't something you discover, it's something you decide. You decide that even though you can't afford perfection, you'll still buy a little hope on credit. You decide that every time you trip, you'll turn the fall into a dance move. You decide that even when life feels like an unpaid bill, you'll still sign your name at the bottom and say, yep, that's mine. Because here's the truth. You don't owe the world happiness, success, or even clarity. You just owe it your best laugh. That's the real payment. That's how you stay in the black, spiritually speaking. You pay with joy. You pay with kindness. You pay with the ridiculous courage to smile in a system that doesn't make sense. So when the next invoice comes, and it will, don't panic. Don't tear it up. Just look at it, shrug, and say, add it to the tab. Then go out and do something worth charging for. A good deed, a bad joke, a loud laugh, something that makes the whole thing feel slightly less expensive. Because life may be a bill you can't pay, but it's still one hell of a receipt to keep.